It's nice to be back. Last time we were covering the scale, the easiest scale. We call it the Diatonic Scale. The 7-note scale you already know. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And we also discovered that you could put a note on an invention called the staff. The staff is those 5 lines that you put the information in, notes. And we learned that you wouldn't know what the note was without a clef sign. And once you put in the clef sign, you understand the note frequency, the pitch. But how do you put it together? Remember, there are 4 elements to music: rhythm, melody, harmony, and timbre. Timbre is the sound. Now, rhythm is really important. Follow the definition of music that I like. It's called, the definition I like says, music is sound organized in time. And the organizing that we do is with the rhythm, so that the melody sits in a framework. And the framework is determined about how you're going to feel the beats. One important thing to know is that the strongest beat you hear in that pulsing rhythm that you listen to is the downbeat. And the downbeat is typically the first beat. And it is the first beat. Boom, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 2, 3. That's the downbeat. Now we use a sign that, called the bar line. And the bar line on that staff has 2 functions. It begins and ends what we call a measure. And inside the bar lines, you will put information, a collection of things. Notes, rests, which are really important. Underneath it, you put the lyric. And that's a simple way to describe it. You might have more information, like getting louder or softer, or speeding it up, slowing it down. But for our purposes, we want to think about what rhythm is and how beats are expressed in music and how you would read it or write it, and which is what I'm trying to teach you how to do, to write a little song. I want you to think about organizing and understanding that as much as the clef sign is important, another symbol will be put in the staff called the time signature. And it's a fraction. It looks like a fraction. It'll say, most of the time, it'll say 4, 4. The top number 4 indicates how many beats there are going to be between the bar lines. The bottom number 4 tells you what kind of beats are we going to count. And for 4, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Those beats are quarter notes. Think of the 4/4, the whole 4/4 is $1, and each quarter note is a quarter. Get it? So you have this invisible, this silent, this feeling that you have of counting going on, and expressed in front of you in a notation. You can see it too, of somebody notating a song. Won't mess around putting notes where they don't belong. I mean, you should have them organized, spaced in a graphic way that makes sense to you. It's pretty important. There are other time signatures. There's any number of time signatures, in fact. You can invent your own. I used to invent the 245/4 time signature. That would be 245 quarter notes. You're not going to hear it too often. A common one is 3/4. That's waltz time. 2/4, march time. Then you have sometimes it's not a 4 underneath, it's an 8, and you'll see 3/8 or 7/8. You can see 11/8. So that would be counting in 8th notes. So if you have 6/8, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, boom. So it's really easy to understand what a time signature does. And you have to follow its instruction. If there is indicated to be 4/4 measure, well then you can't have any less or any more than 4 beats in that measure. That's the way it goes. You can change the time signature in your song. You can change time signatures. You just write a new one in at the beginning of a measure. So that's pretty simple, all right? I want to teach you how to count. I know you know how to count already, but let's count in music terms. A beat, if we think about a quarter note, is 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 2, 3, 4. Now watch. 2, 3, 4, 1. Do you see at the bottom? There are the beats. But what about where my hand is on the top? That's halfway through the beat. So then you could count it 1 and 4. Those are now, instead of 4 beats in a measure, there's 8. And those would be eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Here's another way to do it. It's called 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Pretty good, huh? 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2, 3. Right? 1, 2, 3. So the beat, the tempo, how fast or slow something is, doesn't change. How you count is up to you. I like thinking of things like in 16th notes. 1 and 2 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Makes sense. Makes sense. So when you listen to music, listen hard and see if you can hear the downbeat where the 1 is and where it comes again. And in between those downbeats, count the beats you hear. And you will be able to tell what time signature is being used. And when you write songs, make sure you address that. Think of it, what am I going to write in? Am I going to write in 4/4 or 2/4, 3/4, 5/4, 7/8? Another one I really like is 12/8. Oh my gosh, someday I'll tell you about some great songs in 12/8. I'm thinking of a piece called Les Préludes by Franz Liszt, but also known as the theme from Flash Gordon. Okay, until next time, this is your friend Mr. Rowe, having music fun.